Okay, so what we're doing today is a little dividing polynomials by monomials. We've actually done some of this with some factoring out of GCS, but it's about the same idea, and it's a kind of precursor to being able to divide polynomials by binomials. And so what happens when I look at this first one, I'm going to put a 3x underneath each of these. And so that way it becomes 3x to the fourth over 3x minus 12x squared over 3x plus 6x over 3x. And so each thing has to be divided by that monomial, okay? And so now 3 divided by 3, that's gone. I had 4 x's on top, 1 and 1 on the bottom. You don't see 1, but there's 1 there. So I'm left with 3, so it's just x to the third there. Bring down my minus sign. 12 divided by 3 is 4. I had 2 x's on top, 1 on the bottom, so I'm left with 1x. And then over here, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and the x's are gone, and so that's my answer. So we've done this before. It's just kind of a review because some of the stuff will have more terms. All right, so right here, anything to the -1, if you remember your Algebra 1 monomial laws, which we'll go over eventually, is that a negative exponent just means it goes on the bottom. So what happens is that -2x squared y is going to go on the bottom of each of these. My handwriting's not too great today. Okay, so now when I do this, I'm just going to go ahead and divide each section. 12 divided by -2 is a -6. I had 3 x's on top and 2 on the bottom, so that means I'm left with 1 on the top. I have 2 y's on top, 1 on the bottom. That means I'm left with 1 y on the top. 2 divided by -2 is a -1. I have 1 x on top and 2 on the bottom. So the most I could take away is 1. But then the leftover 1 is actually on the bottom, so I need to put that on the bottom. I'm going to have an x on the bottom. And then I had 3 y's on top and 1 on the bottom, and so I'm left with 2 on top. And I'm just going to do this one out, what I just did, long this way, so that you can kind of see again what happened. And so what happens is I can cross off one of the x's, and so that's why there's 1 on the bottom. And I can cross off one of the y's, and that's why there's 2 up top. So the rule kind of is wherever the bigger exponent is, that's where the answer goes. And since the bigger exponent for x was on the bottom compared to this one, that's why the x stayed on the bottom. All right, and now we keep coming. Those two negatives are going to become a positive, so it's a plus. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Well, and the x squares are gone and the y's are gone, so it's just plus 4, and that's your answer. Okay, so what I would like you guys to do is I'd like you to try number 3 and 4 on your own, and when you think you have it, go ahead and press play, and then you can check to see how you did. Okay, so I'm going to write each one under here as best as I can. Okay, so -42 divided by -7 is a positive 6. I have 6 x's on top, 4 on the bottom. So that means there's 2 left, and since there was more on top, they stay on top. 42 divided by -7 is a -6. I had 4 x's on top and 4 on the bottom, so they're gone. And then here, those 2 negatives are going to become a positive. 49 divided by 7 is 7. I have 2 x's on top and 4 on the bottom. So when I take away 2, I'm left with 2, but because there's more on the bottom, it stays on the bottom. Okay. All right, this one I'm going to write again over here because I can't really move the M in. Okay, so this one has no numbers, just the variables. And so I have 4 m's on the top, right here, and 1 on the bottom. So that means I'm left with 3, and they're going to be on the top. I have 2 n's on the top and 1 on the bottom. So that means when I can take away the 1, I'm left with 1, and it's on top. And then here, my m's are gone, because there's 1 on top, 1 on the bottom. And then for my n's, I have 3 n's on top and 1 on the bottom. So the most I can take away is 1, so I'm left with 2 on top. Okay. So definitely something we've done before, but this has more variables. And so make sure you just write in each one and just take your time. I've seen sometimes when people leave it just with 1 that they make a mistake. It does not take that much time to write them as all the different problems.